right. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Verifiably Random. My name is Min. I'm the Chief Business Officer at the Algorand Foundation. And every other week or so, I bring on guests that are building in our ecosystem and do a deep dive with them. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Benedetto, who is the CEO founder of Folks Finance, one of the biggest DeFi protocols in our ecosystem. So I'm super psyched for this conversation. Benedetto, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, Min. It's very exciting for me as well about being your guest.
Well, I just remember actually like 3 years ago when I first joined the foundation, Benedetto sends me this message. He goes, Min, if you need anything, let me know. And I just felt like you were just such a gracious gentleman at the time. So I appreciate you. Now I'm just doing the favor back. We're gonna have you back as a guest. Well, no, let me
Thank
just give a little bit of a for the most people in Algorand know Benedetto, but for those who may be new to Algorand, and can you just give us a little bit of intro of who you are and how did you end up here?
And then we need 1 hour just for that if you want to know my history. Joking. So, yeah, I'm Italian. I started to work in the crypto industry at the largest Web3 software house of Italy. It's called Blockchain Italia. And at that time, the software house became one of the global partner of Algorand. And that was 2020. The founder knew Silvio, both Sicilians. So it was like a very easy connection. And DeFi was booming in Ethereum at that time. So we thought like, okay, why don't we build something on Algorand, because we are strategic there. We already know the tech. Consider that at this time in Algorand, there wasn't even a virtual machine. So it can't be compared to the Algorand of now. And, it was the time of the Ethereum killers, of all those layer ones competing. And they were just starting like Solana, Near, Avalanche, and Algorand, of course, and it was exciting. So that's how everything started, really. We applied for one of the Algorand accelerator that was run by Borderless Capital. We met Borderless. We did a fundraise after the accelerator. We were doing a great round with name like Borderless, Parafy, Jump, OKX, Coinbase. And this was January 2022. Then on April 2022, we launched our first product, which was the lending protocol on Algorand. And at that time, there was already AlgoFi launched, which was another competitor. Great builders. They were super fast in delivering products. So, there was a competition between us and AlgoFi. For quite a while, they were ahead of us. But our strategy was like, let's keep building and delivering. So Folks became not just a lending protocol. We launched the V2, we added the swaps, we added the liquid staking that was liquid governance before, leverage trading, leverage staking. So we created our one-stop shop for Algorand, and we reached the first ranking in DeFi Llama, and we are super proud of it so far.
Yeah, real OGs, I will say, in the ecosystem. One of the
Well, I
things,
think, if I may say that, I am in Algorand way more than many employees from Algorand Foundation. So I know a lot of the history. It's 5 years now.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's quite long.
Well, this is why the welcome message from you felt so important, But so, let's dig into Folks Finance a little bit as a product. So you mentioned a bunch of the products, the features that you guys have launched, but can we start from the very beginning? Sort of what was the original vision for Folks, and where, what are the very different, like, take us through Folks as a product.
Yeah. So the very beginning, we weren't thinking of doing the lending specifically because we were lending experts. It was more DeFi's booming in every ecosystem. Let's build something strategic on Algorand. Then we did the due diligence and we saw that Tinyman was being built. So in a new ecosystem, the two pillars of DeFi are obviously the swaps, so DEX, and this was covered by Tinyman. And the next one is the lending. So that's how we decided to build the lending. From the very beginning, I thought, okay, we don't need to just copy what someone else is doing. I felt that the industry was very like a baby, like newborn. There wasn't something that was extremely complicated, especially in economics terms and how protocol works. So we reviewed Dave and Compound, and we started to think on how we could improve it. And we actually did so. I remember one of our investors was basically a core contributor of some Aave economic model. And I didn't know when, but when I was pitching what news we brought compared to Aave, then he was like impressed and was like, okay, we're going to invest. So I would say we took inspiration of what was being done on the other ecosystem. I think good entrepreneurs needs always to think on how to copy and improve, because there's no need of the super innovative breakthrough, but it's important to improve what exists on the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about you don't have to be a second fast follower can be just as good as the first innovator, right? It's all about the execution and getting the users to actually use your product. And so on Folks, right now you can tell us kind of what you can do right now, folks. You can lend, borrow. Yeah.
Lend, obviously, and that's where I would say it's our main knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Lend and borrow. You can swap. We built Folks Router, which is an aggregator of the different AMMs on Algorand. And you can do Ultra Swap, which is a leverage trading tool. This is a composition of lending, swaps, and flash loans. So it's a little bit complicated, but it uses those two other contracts of Folks. So there is actually no new smart contract. And that's the beauty of DeFi, that you can compose on-chain contracts to build new feature. So this is for the leverage trading. And then obviously there is the liquid staking with xAlgo, which allows to participate in the consensus with the staking of Algo, but at the same time to maintain the liquidity in DeFi. So by minting xAlgo is an interest-bearing version of the Algo, which allows the holders to accrue interest on it. So basically, by simply holding xAlgo, you are earning the interest of the consensus. And underneath, all the Algo that are collected are participating in the consensus mechanism. So, and to complete, there is also the Ultra Stake, which is similarly to how it's done the Ultra Swap. So it's a composition of loan, flash loan, and liquid staking that allows users to leverage the liquidity that is available in the Algo markets of the lending to borrow against their basically their initial staking to increase their exposure to the Algorand staking. So very simply, if the borrow APR of Algo is lower than the staking APR of xAlgo, then you can make a profit by leveraging the lending part, of course. So it's zero risk in terms of liquidation due to the fact that the collateral it's xAlgo and what you're borrowing is Algo. So the collateral is always growing in price, and they are price correlated compared to the Algo. Right. So yeah,
they're pegged in some ways. I didn't actually even know about this this product.
That's a pity. Then you should go and ultra stake your Algo.
So okay, having sort of at the time when you launched Folks Finance, having worked and seen sort of what other ecosystems are doing, what would you say is the unique selling point for Folks compared to Aave or Compound or some of the other platforms? What makes Folks better?
I think that one of the main thing that we noticed and wanted to have in our product is the ease of no need to leave folks as much as possible. What do I mean by that? To be able to do everything you need as a basic users, maybe not too much complicated digital stuff. Not complicated, I would say. Maybe you need more knowledge. But everything in one place. Once you have swaps, some basic leverage, lending, and liquid staking, you are able to basically manage your portfolio all in one app. One of the things that also makes this working good together is, for example, we have a feature like a swap and deposit or swap collaterals. And this is again composition of the lending and our swaps. So besides certain peculiarities that makes our product, let's say in the economic part, maybe more efficient than the competitors, I think what the user finds an advantage is this ease of having everything in one place. Of course, also, if you add on top that Algorand is super good for building DeFi apps, the experience is amazing, the transaction always goes through, and you don't have a lot of other problems that you can have on other chain. So, I think this composes to the fact that it's good feedback on the usability of the app.
Yeah, actually, speaking of the usability of the app, and I think this point around Algorand being particularly good for DeFi, one flow, if you will, that I thought could really make sense to kind of talk about is the liquidation flow that happens on folks, and just kind of how you guys have leveraged the Algorand tech to really make that a seamless experience.
Well, it's actually critical to have a fast chain being able to liquidate loans. Maybe let's give a little bit of context on what it means to liquidate a loan.
Yeah.
So folks, as all of the competitors that we mentioned, are over-collateralized loans. So basically, you are able to borrow against a higher value that you are collateralizing. For example, you can lock $100 worth of algo and borrow, now I don't remember the rate accurately, maybe 70 USDC. The algo price might be volatile. The duty of Folks Finance is always to protect the lender, so who has given his money for later on being able someone else to borrow. So how do you guarantee that if the collateral is decreasing in price, the borrower is going to repay the debt? Because if my collateral is worth now $60 and I borrowed 70, I'm not going to repay my debt to reacquire my collateral, right? I can just buy with the loan out of the market. So what happens is that when the collateral reaches liquidation threshold, for example, in this case might be $80, then the protocol, the smart contracts, open this position to be liquidated. And this is open for the community. So everyone can check. It's done through SDK. It's done on chain. There isn't an interface for that because you need to be very fast. So there is no need of an interface. So basically, you can check between all the loans available on Folks, which one is under collateralized in this situation. So the liquidator does this job of repaying the debt and acquiring the collateral. So in this case, the liquidator is repaying a $70 USDC loan and getting $80 of USDC of worth of algo. Obviously, the liquidator are bots, so they are planned automatically to do trading. So the liquidator generally sells the collateral and gets back the amount he paid, as in this case the 70 USDC, and then keeps the spread that is given from the liquidation. So that's how it works. And why it's important to be done on a chain that is fast and guarantees finality, it's because in crypto it's quite normal to have high price volatility. So you need to guarantee that sometimes millions of dollars of loan are being liquidated at the same time and very fast, because the price can drop 20% in 1 hour sometime. So it can go below the threshold where it's not convenient anymore to to repay the debt. So it needs to be something that is done very quickly. So
Yeah, it's the speed, it's the finality, and you can just imagine, right? Because you want to lock in that spread, you want to get the collateral, you want to repay the debt. I mean, that whole process, I think, requires a super performant chain. I think, and that underpins a lot of DeFi. I mean, it underpins the lending markets throughout. So it's really,
sometimes consider you can also do, let's say, the loan is so big that it cannot be liquidated in one row. So there are partial liquidation. So you
Mhm.
need to liquidate, swap, come back, liquidate more. So
Oh,
imagine
interesting.
it has to
Right.
be fast, and on Algorand it's possible. Yes.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. You actually, speaking of launching all these, leveraging and putting all these different features together into one app and one experience. You guys also recently launched isolated markets, which I'm super excited about. But for those of the listeners who are not familiar with isolated markets, can you just give us a quick primer on what that is and why it's important for you? Why did you guys want to launch isolated markets?
Actually, this came from I input from Fred. So Fred said an idea, and then we thought, okay, maybe we can do a workaround and do it this way. Uh,
All good ideas come from Fred, as we know.
it was so basically we are limited on the amount of assets we can list because, as I said before, our duty is to protect always the lender. So for the same one of the reasons why we also are strict is because of the liquidations and because crypto assets are very volatile. So having one asset that can put in danger the other puts because they are more or less related to each other, it can endanger all the protocol, right? So far we didn't have bad debt, so it's also because we played this in a safe way. So we always, when we think of what new asset we are listing, we look at how much liquidity they have on the DEX, because we need to trigger this liquidation. If there is a reliable price, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, on Algorand we also built a Volksfeed, which is the oracle that provides those price data. They are also given in a kind of trustless infrastructure. It's not fully decentralized, but it works well and it's safe. We built it together with the foundation. Going back, so the isolated market, basically what they do, they allow to list new token, which are relatively more dangerous because maybe they are lower market cap, they are lower TVL on the DEX. So instead then listing those in the normal markets and, let's say, sharing the risk with all the pools, we decided to build isolated pools where having those assets is going to affect only another limited amount of, in this case, Algo and USDC. For now, we have Tiny token, the governance token of Tiny Man, and Algo and USDC. So basically, user can collateralize and borrow those three seamlessly. And even if the Tiny token hopefully doesn't happen, but something it's going as not expected in their DEX pool, then is still not putting in danger the largest part of the liquidity. And obviously, we are very happy about it. We want to enlarge it. And also with Fred, we are working together to make more algo token coming to folks thanks to these isolated markets. And I really hope that projects help us to do that because we have some requirements in order to be able to do it. And still, even if it's isolated, we want to maintain certain standard and make sure that it's safe for the users.
Yeah, it's so great because on the one hand, you're limiting you're basically carving off exposure to a specific set of assets, right, in terms of the volatility and the risk. On the other hand, from an ecosystem perspective, you're able to then incorporate and be more inclusive of other assets that could be a part of your platform.
Right.
So I think it's fantastic that you guys rolled it out, and I'm really excited to see where it
Thanks.
goes.
Cool.
And thanks to Fred, I mean, I had a sense that Fred Fred had a role in this because he's deep in this DeFi world, thinking through what would be helpful for the ecosystem. So, let's talk a little bit about growth. Actually, now that sort of we're talking about these new features you're launching and all this stuff. What's important to you guys when you think about growth for folks? Is it users? Is it TVL? Is it yeah? What's important to you guys?
I think that the TVL, in terms of a metric, it's important, not really much for us, but because it's the main metric that it is being seen by the public, let's say. Consider this very simply. If you have $10 million TVL, I really doubt that you're gonna get one deposit of another $10 million. So, like, it's also a way for having larger wallets joining the protocol. So the larger the TVL, the easier also the growth in that sense, and the trust that you can get. So it's important. Unfortunately or luckily, I don't know. It's just what it is, and we have to take care the most about it. Then, of course, there are other metrics that we care, like the amount of users, recurring users, the amounts of assets that is borrowed is extremely important, more than the TVL for us, because that's also what generates the yield for the lenders. All those things play a game, but the TVL is, let's say, publicly speaking, the most important.
Yeah, I think TVL is what most people understand in terms of looking at DeFi protocols. But really, I think what you're saying is there are other important metrics like users and utility rate, right, and assets that are available in the platform, et cetera, that are really meaningful. I do want to take a moment to talk about, speaking of assets, you have a pretty big moment coming up soon, right? But before that, I also just want to say, how was the MGE?
Yeah.
Oh, looks congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got married last week, and it's all in a mix with the TGE, the other important moments. So it's like, I don't know, like, my brain couldn't get any more, thoughts and thinking, so I just went through it a bit robotically. But yeah, it was beautiful moment.
And then you coupled it together with your upcoming token launch. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you may not be able to share everything, of course, but just
Yeah.
like give us a little bit of a preview teaser on what's going on there.
At Folks, we launched like the first product on mainnet 1 week before the Terra Luna crash. I remember we decided very quickly to think, okay, let's not focus on the token right now, because it's not going to be a good time. Rather, let's put our energy to build products that users are willing to use, that it's not that, that it's not just for the token, but the token to be able to be leveraged in the product in different way. So our idea was like, let's keep building products that later on the token can, let's say, superpower. And this moment arrived. Of course, people complain a lot, but as a community member, if you imagine that you're waiting for our token, imagine my team, our team, and it's even a bigger wish for us, right? Like we work for it 24/7, so it's a lot of the team member works with us for years. So yeah, obviously we want it to be out. My first token launch, and for most of the team also as well. So we are learning a lot of things by doing, and there are things that we couldn't foresee before. And it's not that anyone comes to you and tell you everything in advance. So like
Yeah.
we are, I would say, 98% ready for it. We had to do a lot of things, a lot of legal part, technical part, marketing part. The centralized exchange world is something that I never experienced before.
Yeah.
It's being for me like a master degree because I like to do things detailed, right? I don't want to leave anything to the case, and this is something that we are also trusting someone else when you do it. I'm also pretty Italian in the negotiation, so it's not being the easiest journey ever. I think that we discovered basically last week, the day after I got married, is that being our token cross-chain, of course, we are launching it with NTT. That is the Wormhole native token transfer standard, which we are going to use to launch Folks. And we did the integration for Algorand together with the foundation and Wormhole. We didn't know that between all the chains, there is to be the bridge live. So the opportunity to transfer fast and in a reliable way the token. So because this integration wasn't ready yet, we didn't pass one of the exchange due diligence. So we have to wait that this is being done. So the good thing is that it's already started, it's ongoing, and this should be ready soon. So we need to see the output of the audits, and probably there will be some bugs. We'll fix it, and therefore after we should be ready. Hopefully something new that I didn't know doesn't arrive. But it's been a journey.
Wow.
We as a team learned a lot. Sometimes I'm with the community. I understand they complain. They want Folks out. We wanted to just bear with us a little bit more. We're trying to do it for the best we can.
Yeah. Well, congrats. I think, it takes time, but also you want to do it right. And I think that that's probably what everybody would want and expect. So can we just take a minute to talk a little bit about your sort of X-Chain app? Because as you mentioned, this token is going to be launched across chains. If you can just give us sort of the vision and sort of the thinking behind X-Chains and Algorand and how you sort of see everything tie up together.
Yeah, of course. X-Chain is the cross-chain lending protocol that we launched 1 year ago almost now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So basically, for the same reason I mentioned before, the ease of use of DeFi, for us, it's very important. And sometimes you need to push the boundaries to get something to be innovative and to get this industry evolved. So we took this big challenge to build something that no one has done before.
Yeah.
And we really liked the idea to have a product where interoperates multiple network at the same time, abstracting this to the users, abstracting the bridging part, the gas payment part. So a product, doesn't matter what it does, in this case is the lending, but where as a user you connect with your most favorite wallet, use the assets on the chain that you like the most, and you are being to operate without thinking about those parts. So that's how our cross-chain lending started. Of course, we thought, okay, we started with a lending on Algorand, now we evolve this in a cross-chain manner. So consider that our exchange, the name version 1, was very experimental, like no one ever built something like this. And in a year grew to over $50 million in TVL. So it's a success. We found out also a lot of things that could be done better, same as we did the V1 on Algorand. Then after that, we understood what was to be fixed, and we quickly built the V2. So now we are building the V2, and the direction that we have for this is to not have, first of all, not only EVM chain, because right now on X-Chain it's pretty easy to deploy a new EVM chain. It takes like a few days of work, but deploying a non-EVM chain is very complicated. That's why we thought, okay, for now, let's not focus in integration of non-EVM. Of course, we want to have also Algorand, and do this in the V2 where we already solved a lot of the other not problems, but we can improve it definitely. For the version 2, we want to give as much as customizable loans as possible. So in my ideal scenario, then we are putting this into the code, right? So whatever I imagine is not always what it can happen, but we want to have a hybrid model that, like right now the standard of the industry in the lending is that you have a model which is monolithic, like Folks, where there is the listing of the token and they interoperate with each other based on the rules that you set for the tokens. And then you have the Morpho model, which is the one based on vaults, where you can have, let's say, third parties that are risk curators being able to spin off their own loan and vaults and propose parameters for the type of loan that they are curating or the type of vaults they are curating. So I think that has come to a time that this makes sense. The industry is evolved and it demonstrated that this works. So we want to have a hybrid model with both the monolithic and the vaults-based part. But I think also thanks to the cross-chain part that we bring in where we lead basically in the industry, there is no other product like Folks in the market. We want to bring it even to the next level, that you can have these vaults and monolithic in a cross-chain way. So you just connect with, again, the wallet you like, use the assets on the chain you want, and get the loan customized as much as possible. So we'll see how much we can push this boundary. But again, we want to have Algorand integrated as well for this version 2. So the two worlds can merge at this point.
Oh, that's super exciting. The sort of the tying up of the X-Chain and Algorand MES, I guess, especially with NTT being sort of done and audited, that could be a part of the larger vision for V2. But even more exciting, I think, is this how do we tap into kind of this hybrid model that you talked about with vaults and Morpho and, even some of the other protocols that are doing cool things. So
it's going to be cool also for the ecosystem because, for example,
Ooh.
you're going to have the opportunity to onboard a risk curator on Algorand and spin off their own strategies using Folks. So it's needed also in the ecosystem, a vault-based lending. So we're going to take care of that.
I love it. I cannot wait. All right. Well, Benedetto, I think this is all the time that we have for today. Although I just do want to do a quick shout out because I believe Folks Finance is going to be participating in our retail campaign that is coming up. I think the idea for the marketing team was really to kind of make it easy, make it simple, and get the users onto Folks. For those of you who are participating in this, and even if you're not, you should come and participate in the retail campaign. Check out the Folks Finance
and if you're very new, check out the Folks Academy, because there you can learn everything on how to use the app, but also there are basic video about crypto and DeFi in general, so you can learn everything you need.
That's super cool, right? Folks Academy to learn all things about DeFi. So very cool. Well, thank you so much, Benedetto. And we look forward to seeing all the great things that you guys are building.
Yes, the TGE and the BG, the Baby Generation event, hopefully.
Oh, BGE. All right. I love that. All right. Well, we have to also, of course, make sure that we bring in Fred to give us a quick update on all things that are happening in the ecosystem. So, Fred, let me hand it over to you.
Hey, Min. Hey, Bennett. It is a pleasure to be here. What a great chat. I'm a little biased towards DeFi, so I certainly enjoyed this conversation today. But yeah, so thanks for having me on again. But hey, let's jump right in, as I do have lots of really cool updates to share since our last episode just a few days ago. So let's jump right in. Maybe I'll take the cue that we're talking about DeFi today, and I'll start right away with DeFi news. Our friends at Compext relaunched the C Algo restaking. So that's live again. Go check it out. And they also launched a new dual stake for XUSD, their decentralized stablecoin, in partnership with Myth Finance. So, another option of LSTs in the ecosystem for you to check it out. Really nice stuff. Kudos to the teams. The team over at Tinyman updated the thresholds for the Tiny Power. So if you are a Tinyman governor, go check out the new limits and how you can make better use of your Tiny Power. In Alpha Arcade, the team is doing incredible work over there, and they just made another round of USDC payouts to all the token holders from the fees collected in the predictions market just in the last few days. They keep rolling great stuff, and they just launched a all brand new functionality, which is you can launch a predictions market with a live stream. So if you're into that stuff and you want to live stream maybe a game or something that you're doing, whatever, and have a predictions market on it, Alpha Arcade is the place to do so. Just reach out to the team on Discord or any of their channels, and you can get that live stream predictions market going. All right, that should get very interesting very soon, I believe. Let's see how it plays out. In the real-world asset front, Lofty AI continues to tokenize stunning properties all over the United States, the latest being a $1.8 million property in Texas that you can become a fractional owner for just $50. So if you're into that stuff, check out Lofty AI. In all things tech, Go Plausible continues to push the boundaries in the AI front and just released support for the X402 payments protocol on Algorand. That is a huge milestone. Kudos to the team, and I cannot wait to see how this play out and other apps integrate with this. Excellent news. Gora Networks Gora token is now available in the Coinbase wallet. Nice job, team. And Valar Staking has just recently integrated red pooling into their platform and now showing all the information about XGov eligibility for all the pools. So also great work, team. Very nice to see that integration come live. In the gaming side of things, Fractal Monsters TCG, the trading card game, is now fully available in the Google Play Store. So download now, enjoy the fun. And to wrap up today, the team at Realms has been teasing their NFT Turbo game, which is going to be a racing game, and it looks incredible. They just announced that the game is now in closed beta and launch is imminent. So I cannot wait for this thing to come public and we all get to play it because it certainly looks a lot of fun. And that's all I have for today. Min, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. As I said, we did have some great updates to share since our last episode just a few days ago, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of really cool updates to share in a few days from now in the next episode. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and one last final friendly call to action for all the Algo fam out there. As you know, we're right in the middle of Algoland. And next week, you guessed it, it's DeFi week. So make sure that you just join the fun on DeFi on Algorand. And next week, check out all the amazing quests that are going to be there for you to have a lot of fun in this ecosystem. Check out Folks Finance, Backed, and Compacts, okay? And of course, many other DeFi products in our ecosystem that you can check out as well. But make sure that you complete all those DeFi quests next week, okay? Min, thank you so much for having me on, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brad. That was fabulous. It's always a pleasure to have you give us updates on the ecosystem. And with that, my friends, we are going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Benedetto. All right. We'll see you soon.